My wife was bent over her boss's desk with her skirt around her waist when I walked in holding roses. My name is Vince Clark, and I'm 33 years old. For 8 years, I'd trusted Carla completely, never questioned the late nights, the business trips, the time she came home smelling like someone else's cologne. I was the loyal husband, the provider, the fool. Standing in that doorway, watching Damian Whitmore's hands on my wife's hips, something inside me went cold. Not broken, cold. I didn't cry, didn't scream, I just started calculating. By the time I left that office, I'd already decided how this would end. Carla thought she could gaslight me, make me doubt what I'd seen with my own eyes. She was wrong. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. By midnight, I was sitting in my home office with Nelson and a divorce attorney named Diane Parker. Diane's in her 50s, sharp-eyed and ruthless. Exactly what I needed. I'd told them everything, shown them the photos I'd had the presence of mind to take with my phone before I left Damian's office. Clear shots of Carla and Damian still disheveled, still together. "This is solid," Diane said, examining the photos on my laptop. "California is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery still impacts things like spousal support. She's not getting a dime." "I don't just want to divorce her," I said. My voice came out flat, controlled. "I want her destroyed." Nelson leaned back in his chair. "What are you thinking?" "She works for Meridian Financial. They have a strict code of conduct." I was already pulling up the company handbook on my laptop, the one Carla left logged in on our home computer. She never thought I'd need to look. Relationships between supervisors and subordinates are prohibited. It's page 47. Right here. I turned the screen so they could both see. The policy was crystal clear. Any romantic or sexual relationship between a supervisor and their direct report must be immediately disclosed to Human Resources and will result in reassignment or termination at the company's discretion. Diane's smile widened. "And Damian's her direct supervisor." "Has been for 3 years." I clicked through Carla's email. She never logged out, never thought I'd have a reason to check. There were messages going back months, flirty at first, then explicit. Damian promising her a promotion, promising her a raise, promising her everything if she just kept this quiet. He's been using his position to get her into bed. "Was he coercing her?" Nelson asked carefully. I pulled up a message from 2 months ago. Carla's words, "Can't wait for our trip to San Diego next week. Tell your wife you're at a conference. I'll tell my husband I'm visiting my sister. We'll have the whole weekend." Nelson whistled low. "That's premeditated. That's my wife." I closed the email tab and opened her calendar. Look at this. Every late work night for the past 6 months, cross-referenced with Damian's travel schedule from his assistant's calendar, which is also synced to the company system. They match up perfectly. Every business trip he took, she took at the same time. Different cities on paper, same hotels in reality. I'd spent the last 2 hours building a timeline. Every lie, every excuse, every moment she'd looked me in the eye and told me she was working when she was really with him. The evidence was airtight. "What's your play?" Diane asked, taking notes now. Meridian Financial is publicly traded. They answer to a board of directors. And the board cares about one thing above all else: liability. I leaned forward. If they have a senior executive engaging in a relationship with a subordinate, violating company policy, potentially opening them up to sexual harassment lawsuits, they'll cut him loose in a heartbeat. "You'd have to prove it to the board," Nelson said. "I have emails. I have photos. I have calendar entries showing coordinated travel. And I have something better. Expense reports." I pulled up another folder. Hotels booked on corporate cards. Same hotels, same dates, charged separately but to the same property. Their accounting department will have records of all of it. Diane's smile turned predatory. "You've been thorough." "I've been betrayed." My jaw tightened. I want this airtight. I want her embarrassed. I want her unemployed. And I want Damian blacklisted from every financial firm in California. "That's scorched earth," Nelson warned. "That's justice." We spent the next hour going through details. Diane would file divorce papers first thing in the morning. I'd contact Meridian's board by end of business tomorrow. Everything would move fast. The faster we moved, the less time Carla had to prepare a defense or hide anything else. Around 2 in the morning, I heard her key in the lock downstairs. My office door was closed, but I could hear her moving around, her footsteps hesitant on the hardwood. She called my name softly. "Sweetheart, are you home?" I didn't answer. Let her sweat. After a few minutes, there was a soft knock on my office door. "I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk." I opened the door. She looked terrible. Makeup smeared, eyes red from crying, still wearing the same clothes from Damien's office. Behind me, Diane and Nelson were visible at the desk, papers spread everywhere. Carla's eyes went wide. "What's going on?" "Divorce proceedings," I said flatly. "Miss Parker here is my attorney. You'll be served papers tomorrow." "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious." I handed her a folder. "Inside, you'll find a preliminary settlement offer. You get your car, your clothes, and your credit card debt. I get everything else." She opened the folder with shaking hands, scanned the first page. "This is insane. You can't just take everything." "I can, actually. The house is in my name alone. The savings account is from my grandfather's inheritance. The only joint asset we have is a checking account with about $4,000 in it. You can have half of that." "That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed, and it came out cold. "You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been you telling me you were unhappy before you fucked your boss. This isn't about fair, Carla. This is about consequences." She was crying again, but I felt nothing. "Please don't do this. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. What you did was a choice." "Multiple choices, over months." I stepped back. "Sign the papers when you're served or don't. Either way, this marriage is over." "What about my job? You're not going to—" "Going to what?" I smiled. "Tell your company that their senior executive is violating policy? Why would I do that?" Her face went pale. She knew me well enough to hear the lie. "Don't, please. I know I hurt you, but don't ruin my career. You did that yourself." I glanced at my watch. "You have until noon tomorrow to get your things and get out. After that, I'm changing the locks." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't know. Maybe Damien has a spare bedroom." I closed the door in her face. The next morning at 9, I met Diane at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the courthouse. She had the divorce papers spread across the table, red tabs marking where signatures would go. "Everything's in order," she said, tapping the asset division section. "House stays with you. Deeds in your name alone, purchased before marriage. Savings account stays with you. Inherited funds, never commingled with marital assets. The $4,000 in the joint checking gets split 50-50. What about her credit card debt? All in her name." "Not your problem." Diane flipped to another page. "She gets her car. It's titled to her. Personal belongings, clothing, jewelry. That's it. Spousal support? She's got no claim. Marriage was only 8 years, she's employed, and the adultery kills any sympathy a judge might have." Diane closed the folder. "I'm filing this at 10. She'll be served by end of day." I nodded. "Do it." Back home by noon, I found Carla's car in the driveway. The front door was unlocked. Inside, I could hear her moving around upstairs, drawers opening and closing. I stayed in the kitchen, making coffee, refusing to go up there. I wasn't going to help her pack. Wasn't going to comfort her. She'd made her choices. Around 1, she came downstairs with 2 suitcases. Her eyes were red, face puffy from crying. She stopped when she saw me. "I need more time." "You don't have it. Please, I can't fit everything in one trip." "Then come back for the rest tomorrow, but you're not staying here tonight." I sipped my coffee. "Locks get changed at 3. She stood there, gripping the suitcase handles. "I loved you. I know you don't believe me, but I did." "Then you have a funny way of showing it." She left without another word. By 2, her car was gone. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. I needed a meeting with Meridian's board, and I needed it fast. Started with a guy I knew from a charity event last year, worked in their investor relations department. He gave me an email address for the board secretary. I sent a carefully worded message. Evidence of serious policy violations by senior management. Potential liability exposure. Need to discuss with board directly. Got an automated reply saying someone would respond within 48 hours. I spent the next 2 days following up. Called every contact I had with even a remote connection to Meridian Financial. Sent more emails, each one mentioning liability, potential lawsuits, fiduciary responsibility. The kind of words that make corporate executives nervous. Finally got a call back Thursday afternoon. Richard Jensen, board chairman. His voice was clipped, professional. "Mr. Clark, you've been very persistent. I have evidence your board needs to see. Regarding what exactly? Violations of your code of conduct, relationships between supervisors and subordinates, expense report fraud, potential sexual harassment liability. I paused. This is the kind of thing that ends up in the Wall Street Journal if it's not handled correctly. Silence on the other end. Then, Friday morning, 10 o'clock, the Fairmont Hotel, Conference Room B. Come alone. He hung up before I could respond. Friday morning, 3 days after I'd walked in on Carla and Damien, I sat across from three of the most powerful people at Meridian Financial. The conference room was sterile. White walls, glass table, uncomfortable chairs designed to keep meetings short. Richard Jensen sat in the middle, mid-50s with silver hair and a suit that probably cost more than my car payment. To his left was Eliza Adamson, the CFO, sharp-eyed and already looking impatient. To his right, Thomas McKinley, the general counsel, had a legal pad ready and a pen poised like a weapon. "Mr. Clark," Richard began, settling into his chair, "you said you have evidence of policy violations at Meridian. We take such claims very seriously." I slid the folder across the table. "Then you'll want to see this." Richard opened it. Inside were printed emails between Carla and Damien, the explicit ones, the ones where they discussed their affair openly. Calendar entries showing their synchronized travel schedules, expense reports for hotels they'd claimed separately but stayed in together. And the photos from that night, not the most explicit shots, but enough to make the situation crystal clear. Eliza leaned over Richard's shoulder and went pale. Thomas started writing immediately, his pen scratching across the legal pad. "This is your wife," Richard said. Not a question. "Was my wife. Divorce was filed yesterday." I leaned forward. "But this isn't about my marriage. This is about your company." Richard flipped through the emails, his jaw tightening with each page. Eliza had her hand over her mouth now, eyes wide. Thomas was writing faster, his pen practically carving into the paper. "Damien Whitmore," I continued, "a senior managing director, has been engaging in a sexual relationship with his direct subordinate for at least 6 months, possibly longer. He's violated your code of conduct. He's created massive liability, and he's done it using company resources, hotels booked on corporate cards, business trips that were really personal getaways." "How did you obtain these emails?" Thomas asked, lawyer instincts kicking in. "My wife never logged out of her personal email on our home computer. The emails are between her personal account and Damien's personal account, but they reference company business and company travel. Nothing I accessed required me to hack or violate any company systems." Thomas nodded slowly. "That's technically legal." "I'm not here to cause trouble for Meridian," I said. "I'm here to give you a heads up before this becomes a lawsuit. Before my wife decides she was actually being sexually harassed and coerced into this relationship by her boss. Before she gets her own lawyer and comes after you for millions in damages." That hit them like a freight train. Eliza sat back hard in her chair. Richard's knuckles went white, gripping the folder. Thomas's pen froze mid-word. "You think she'd do that?" Richard asked. "I think a woman who just lost her marriage and is about to lose her job might get desperate." I shrugged. "I think she might realize that claiming she was the victim instead of a willing participant could be very lucrative, and I think a jury would sympathize with her, the young female analyst taken advantage of by her older, powerful boss." "But these emails show willing participation," Thomas argued. "Do they? Or do they show a woman who felt pressured to go along with her boss's advances to keep her job and advance her career?" I let that sink in. "I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that's what her lawyer will argue, and it'll be your word against hers." Silence settled over the room like a fog. Richard exchanged looks with Eliza and Thomas. "What do you want?" Eliza finally asked. "I want Damien Whitmore fired, immediately, for cause, so he doesn't get severance or unemployment. I want it noted in his employment file that he was terminated for violating the code of conduct and engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. And I want it done quietly. No press release, no public statement. Just gone." "And your wife?" Thomas asked. "She can resign quietly. No fanfare, no investigation. She finds another job somewhere else, and this all goes away." I leaned back. "Otherwise, I give this folder to a plaintiff's attorney, and you're looking at a sexual harassment lawsuit that'll drag through the courts for years and cost you millions in settlements and legal fees." Richard closed the folder. "You're blackmailing us." "I'm preventing a lawsuit." I stood up. "Your company has a problem. I'm offering you a clean solution. Take it or leave it." I walked out without waiting for an answer. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. Carla. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. On the fourth call, I answered. What did you do? Her voice was shrill, panicked. Damien's gone. They fired him. I told them the truth, I said, leaning back in my desk chair. I showed them evidence of your affair. They made a business decision. You bastard. You ruined his life. He ruined his own life when he decided to fuck his employee. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. And yours, if we're being honest. How's work treating you, by the way? Silence. Then, quieter. They asked me to resign. Smart move on their part. Less liability that way. I could hear her trying to control her breathing. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll find something else. Maybe Damien's hiring wherever he ends up next. Oh wait, he won't end up anywhere, will he? Not after I made sure every financial firm in California knows exactly why he was terminated. You're destroying us. I'm holding you accountable. There's a difference. I checked my watch. Sign the divorce papers, Carla. Move on with your life. It's over. I hung up before she could respond. 3 months after I walked out of Damien's office, Diane called me on a Wednesday afternoon. It's done, she said. Divorce is finalized. She signed everything. I was sitting in my car outside a client meeting and I just exhaled, like I'd been holding my breath for 90 days straight. She didn't contest anything? Not a word. Took her car, her clothes, her debt. You got everything else. Diane paused. She knows she has no leverage here. Smart move on her part. Smart. Right. That was one word for it. Nelson called me that evening with updates I didn't ask for, but somehow needed to hear. Carla moved to Arizona, living with her sister in Phoenix. Can't find work out here. Word travels fast in financial circles. And Damien? Selling used Hondas at some dealership in the valley. Nelson laughed, but it wasn't mean. Just factual. No investment firm will touch him after what happened. I should have felt vindicated, triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. Thanks for letting me know. You doing okay? Yeah. And the weird thing was, I meant it. I'm good. I started dating again around month 4. Nothing serious at first. Just coffee meetings, dinners with women I met through friends or work connections. Testing the waters after 8 years of being married. It felt strange, like learning to walk again after a bad injury. Then my company sponsored a charity auction in November, and I met Janine Roberts. She was standing by the silent auction table, examining a weekend getaway package when I walked up beside her. 30, maybe. Professional, but not stiff. Dark hair pulled back, sharp eyes that looked like they didn't miss much. You bidding on that? I asked. She glanced at me. Depends. You planning to outbid me? Hadn't thought about it until now. She smiled. Then I guess we're competing. We ended up talking for 40 minutes straight. She was an architect, designed commercial buildings, had her own small firm, smart, funny, completely different energy from Carla. Where Carla always seemed to be performing, Janine just was, comfortable in her own skin. I got her number, called her 2 days later. By month 4, we were serious. By month 6, she was at my place more nights than she wasn't. The house felt different with Janine in it. Alive, maybe. Like it had been holding its breath too, waiting for someone to fill the spaces Carla left behind. Janine brought plants, actual living things that needed care. She rearranged furniture without asking permission, and somehow it looked better. She made the kitchen smell like coffee and pancakes instead of silence. I remember thinking one morning, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Saturday morning, 6 months after everything fell apart, Janine and I were making breakfast. She was scrambling eggs while I handled the bacon, and we were arguing about something stupid, whether you could actually taste the difference between name brand and generic orange juice. You absolutely cannot, she said, laughing. You're wrong. There's a difference. You're a snob. I'm refined. She threw a dish towel at me, and I caught it midair, grinning like an idiot. This was my life now. This easy, simple, good life. Then someone knocked on the front door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Nelson would have texted first. Janine's friends always called ahead. I wiped my hands on the towel and headed for the door, already running through possibilities. Delivery, neighbor, maybe someone selling something. I opened the door. Carla stood on my porch. She looked rough. That was the first thought that hit me. She'd lost weight, not in a healthy way, but in that hollowed-out way that comes from stress and skipped meals. Her hair hung flat and unstyled, the roots showing where she used to keep it colored. Dark circles shadowed her eyes like bruises. "We need to talk," she said. My hand tightened on the doorknob. "No, we don't." I started to close the door, but she stepped forward. "Please, 5 minutes." "Carla, I'm not here to beg or ask for anything." Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. Defeated, almost. "I just need to say something." Behind me, I heard Janine turn off the stove. The house went quiet, except for the sound of my own breathing. 5 minutes, I said. "Front yard." We stepped outside, and I pulled the door mostly closed behind me. Carla noticed the movement, glanced past me toward the kitchen window where Janine was probably watching. "You're seeing someone," she said. "Her name's Janine. We've been together 4 months." I crossed my arms. Clock's ticking. Carla took a breath. "I'm not here to break you two up or cause drama." Her shoulders sagged. "I'm here to tell you that you were right. About everything. I was selfish. I was stupid. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was bored and flattered by the attention." I didn't say anything. Just waited. "I lost everything." Her voice cracked slightly. "My job, my marriage, Damien. He won't even return my calls anymore. Turns out he was sleeping with 2 other women at the company, too. I was just another conquest." She laughed, bitter and hollow. "I'm living with my sister, working as a temp, barely making rent, and I know I deserve all of it. I know this is my fault. The old me, the one from 8 months ago, might have felt something. Pity, maybe. Satisfaction, definitely. But standing there watching her fall apart, I felt nothing. Just empty space where she used to matter. I'm not asking for forgiveness or for another chance." She looked at me directly. "I just wanted you to know that you won. You got your revenge. I hope it makes you happy." She turned to walk away. "Carla." She stopped, looked back. "I didn't do this for revenge." The words came out calm, measured. "I did it because you destroyed something I built. You disrespected me, lied to me, and thought you could get away with it." I met her eyes. "The consequences you're facing aren't because I'm cruel. They're because actions have consequences. You could have talked to me. You could have left. Instead, you chose betrayal." "I know." "Good. Then we have nothing left to say to each other." This time when she walked away, she didn't look back. Didn't hesitate. Just got in her car, different one, older, probably all she could afford now, and drove off. I stood there for a moment watching her disappear around the corner. Then I went back inside. Janine was leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. "You okay?" "Yeah." I pulled her close, wrapping my arms around her. "I really am." She tilted her head up. "That was her. That was her." I kissed her forehead. "And now she's gone. She looked rough. She made her choices." Janine studied my face for a second, then nodded. "Breakfast is cold. We'll reheat it." We spent the rest of Saturday like nothing had happened. Finished breakfast, went for a walk in the park, grabbed lunch at that sandwich place Janine liked. Normal couple stuff. Easy stuff. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt genuinely okay. Not just getting by or moving forward. Actually, okay. Like I'd closed a door I didn't know was still open. That evening my phone rang. Nelson's name flashed on the screen. "Hey man," I answered. "What's up?" "We have a problem." His voice was tight, urgent. "I need you to come to my office. Now." My stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that comes with a legal summons." He paused. "Carla's filing a lawsuit." I made it to Nelson's office in 20 minutes. Probably broke a few traffic laws getting there, but I didn't care. He was waiting in his office, door open, papers spread across his desk like casualties of war. The overhead lights made everything look harsh, clinical. "Show me," I said, not bothering with pleasantries. Nelson slid the summons across the desk. I picked it up, scanning the first page. Carla Morrison, Visa Meridian Financial Services, Inca. She's suing the company. I looked up. Not me. "Keep reading." I flipped to the next page. Sexual harassment, hostile work environment, wrongful constructive dismissal. The words blurred together as I read faster. Carla claimed Damien had coerced her into the relationship using his position of power. That when she tried to end it, he threatened her job. That Meridian forced her to resign to protect him. "This is bullshit," I said. "The emails prove she was willing." "I know." Nelson leaned forward. "But her lawyer's going to argue those emails show a subordinate who felt pressured to respond positively or risk retaliation." They'll paint her as a victim who had no choice. I kept reading. She was seeking $2 million in damages, and there, on page 4, was my name. She's named you as a witness, Nelson said. Claims you have evidence of both the relationship and the company's response. Of course I do. I'm the one who gave them the evidence. That's the problem. Nelson pulled out another document. Read paragraph 12. I found it. My hands tightened on the paper. The plaintiff further alleges that her estranged husband, Vincent Clark, colluded with Meridian Financial to force her resignation as an act of personal revenge, deliberately and maliciously destroying her career and professional reputation. She's saying I orchestrated this. My voice came out flat. That I weaponized the affair to ruin her life. Her lawyer's smart. Nelson tapped the document. They're tying everything back to you. You went to the board. You showed them evidence. You threatened them with a lawsuit if they didn't act. Now they're arguing you deliberately destroyed her career out of spite. I sat down hard. What does she want? $2 million from Meridian, and spousal support from you. Spousal support? We weren't married long enough. She's claiming she sacrificed her career advancement to support yours. That she's now unemployable in her field due to your actions. Nelson's expression was sympathetic but firm. If she can prove you orchestrated her firing, she might have a case for damages against you personally. The room felt smaller, hotter. What are my options? Fight it. That means depositions, testimony, everything about your marriage becoming public record. It'll be messy and expensive. He paused. Or you push Meridian to settle fast and try to stay out of it. They're going to blame me. Probably. Their lawyers will argue they acted on information provided by a third party, you, and had no choice but to investigate. Nelson met my eyes. You gave them the gun, buddy. Now they're pointing it at you. The next week was hell. Meridian's lawyers, 2 of them, both wearing expensive suits and cold expressions, called me in 3 separate times. They wanted to know everything. Every conversation with Carla, every piece of evidence I'd collected, every word I'd said to Richard Jensen and the board. They were polite, professional, and absolutely building their defense with me as the scapegoat. Did you tell Mr. Jensen that he needed to fire both Mr. Whitmore and Ms. Morrison? The first one asked during Tuesday's meeting. I told him Damien violated company policy. Did you specifically demand that they be terminated? I said Damien should be fired for cause, that Carla should resign. So you did demand their termination. It went like that for hours, twisting my words, reframing my actions, making me sound like a vengeful ex-husband instead of someone who'd been betrayed and fought back. By Friday, I was exhausted, angry, and completely aware that I was about to get thrown under the bus. 1 week after Nelson's call, I was sitting at dinner with Janine, my place. Pasta she'd made because I'd been too stressed to think about food. I hadn't touched it. What's going on? She asked gently. I told her everything. The lawsuit, the allegations, the way Meridian was positioning me as the problem, how this whole thing was about to blow up in my face. She listened without interrupting, her hand finding mine across the table. So she's trying to make you the bad guy, she said when I finished. She's succeeding? I pushed my plate away. Meridian's going to settle. They'll pay her off to make this disappear, and they'll throw me under the bus doing it. Say I manipulated them, provided false information, whatever minimizes their liability. Can they do that? They can say whatever they want. I rubbed my face. Even if I win, I lose. My reputation takes a hit. My career suffers. I spend the next year fighting legal battles instead of living my life. Janine was quiet for a moment. Then, what if you go on the offensive? I looked up. What do you mean? You have evidence that she was a willing participant. The emails, the calendar entries, everything. She leaned forward. What if you release it publicly? Not to the company, not to lawyers, to everyone. Show the world who she really is. That's nuclear. She's already trying to destroy you, Janine said. She's already coming after you. At least this way, you control the narrative. I stared at her. The idea was risky. Aggressive. Exactly the kind of move that could backfire spectacularly. But it might work. I spent the next 2 days locked in my home office while Janine handled everything else. Food appeared on my desk. Coffee stayed hot. She didn't ask questions, just gave me space to work. I compiled everything, every single piece of evidence I had. The emails between Carla and Damien went back further than I'd initially thought. 9 months, not 6. I organized them chronologically, highlighting the ones where Carla explicitly discussed lying to me. Tell him you're visiting your sister. I'll say I'm at a conference. We'll have the whole weekend in San Diego. The calendar entries showed their coordinated travel. Every business trip Damien took, Carla took at the same time. Different cities on the official schedule, same hotels in reality. The expense reports were damning. Hotels booked on corporate cards, dinners for two charged to Meridian. They hadn't even tried to hide it, probably figured no one would ever cross-reference the data. And the photos. I included two, carefully chosen. Nothing explicit, but enough to show them disheveled in Damien's office that night. Enough to prove what I'd witnessed. I wrote a timeline, clean, factual, backed by documentation at every step. No emotion, no editorializing. Just the truth. Then I built the website. It took me 6 hours to get it right. Simple design, professional. The kind of thing that looked credible, not like some revenge porn site. I titled it, The Truth About Carla Morrison versus Meridian Financial. At the top, I wrote a statement. My name is Vince Clark. I was married to Carla Morrison for 8 years. In October 2024, I discovered she was engaged in an affair with her direct supervisor, Damien Whitmore, when I walked into his office and found them together. When I presented evidence of their relationship to Meridian Financial's board of directors, they terminated Mr. Whitmore for cause and requested Ms. Morrison's resignation for violating company policy. Ms. Morrison is now suing Meridian Financial, claiming she was coerced into the relationship and wrongfully terminated. This website contains the actual evidence, emails, calendar entries, and communications that show the truth. I'm releasing this information because I believe the public has a right to know the facts before a false narrative is established in court. Everything below is documented and verifiable. I encourage anyone interested in the truth to examine the evidence themselves. I redacted anything that could be considered private. Addresses, phone numbers, specific hotel room details. But I left enough. More than enough to tell the complete story. The site sat on my laptop, unpublished, ready to go live with one click. Instead, I called Richard Jensen. He answered on the fourth ring. It's late, Mr. Clark. This goes live tomorrow morning, I said. Unless we reach an agreement. Silence. Then, you're bluffing. Am I? I pulled up the site on my screen. You're about to settle with a woman who's lying about being sexually harassed. You're about to pay her millions and sacrifice my reputation to do it. I'm giving you an alternative. What alternative? Fight the lawsuit. Use this evidence. Prove she was a willing participant and make her drop the suit. I kept my voice steady. I've documented everything. Emails where she plans the lies she's going to tell me. Calendar entries showing coordinated travel. Expense reports proving they used company resources for personal trips. It's all here, Richard. All of it. If you publish that, she'll sue you for defamation. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Everything on that site is factual and documented. I clicked through the pages, feeling more confident with each second. You have 12 hours to decide. Either you fight this lawsuit with the full truth, or I publish everything and let public opinion decide who the real victim is. This is extortion. This is self-defense. I glanced at the clock. 12 hours, Richard. Then everyone knows exactly who Carla Morrison really is. I hung up. Janine was standing in the doorway. Think he'll go for it? He doesn't have a choice. I didn't sleep much. Kept checking my phone, waiting for Richard to call back. Janine dozed beside me, her hand resting on my arm like an anchor. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. I grabbed it. Yeah? We're fighting the lawsuit. Richard's voice was tired but clear. I sat up, heart pounding. You're sure? Our general counsel reviewed your site. The evidence is strong enough to defend against the harassment claims. He paused. We're filing a motion to dismiss based on documentation showing Ms. Morrison's willing participation. We're also preparing a countersuit for fraud and attempted extortion. What about me? You're in the clear. We'll testify that you provided evidence of a policy violation, which we were obligated to investigate. Your actions were appropriate under the circumstances. Another pause. But we need you to testify if it goes to trial. I'll be there. One more thing. Don't publish that website. We need the evidence clean, not potentially tainted by public disclosure before trial. Agreed. I was already closing the laptop. Keep me updated. I hung up and looked at Janine. She was awake now, watching me. They're fighting it, I said. She smiled. Good. The legal process moved faster than I expected. Carla's lawyer, Some guy named Marcus Webb, who'd taken the case on contingency, saw the evidence Meridian prepared to present and immediately tried to negotiate a withdrawal. Meridian refused. They filed their countersuit alleging fraud and attempted extortion. Webb tried everything: settlement offers, mediation requests, procedural delays. Nothing worked. Meridian's legal team was out for blood now, and they had the documentation to back it up. 2 weeks later, it was over. Carla dropped the lawsuit. Meridian dropped their countersuit in exchange. No money changed hands. Both parties signed NDAs agreeing not to discuss the case publicly. But the damage was done. Webb withdrew his representation the same day, probably realizing he'd been played by a desperate woman with a bullshit story. Word spread fast in legal circles about the attempted fraud. Carla's name became toxic. The woman who cried harassment while the emails showed she was planning secret weekends with her boss. I got a text from Nelson. "It's over. She's done." Yeah, she was. 6 months passed like water flowing downhill. Easy, natural. Janine and I grew closer. We hosted a barbecue at my place on a Saturday afternoon. Friends gathered around, music playing from the outdoor speakers, smell of burgers on the grill. Life felt normal again. Better than normal. Nelson showed up late, beer in hand. "Sorry, man. Had a thing." "No problem." I handed him a burger. "Everything good?" "Yeah. Actually," he lowered his voice, glancing around. "Heard through the grapevine that Carla moved back east. Pennsylvania. Found work at some small accounting firm out there. Good for her. Also heard Damien's selling used Hondas now." Nelson grinned. "Apparently no financial firm will touch him after what happened." I should have felt satisfaction, vindication, that rush of justice served. But I didn't. I just felt free. Like I'd finally closed a chapter I'd been carrying around for too long. "You did the right thing," Nelson said quietly. "Standing up for yourself." Almost didn't. I looked over at Janine, laughing with some of her architect friends by the patio. Almost let the whole thing drag me down. But you didn't. That's what counts. Later that night, after everyone left, Janine and I were cleaning up. She loaded the dishwasher while I took out trash, and it was all so beautifully domestic and normal. "I love you," I said. She looked up, surprised. We hadn't said it yet. Hadn't crossed that line, but it felt right now, in this moment, in this life I'd rebuilt. "I love you too," she said, smiling. And just like that, the past stopped mattering. 1 year after I walked into Damien's office and found my wife bent over his desk, I was sitting in my new office. Bigger corner windows, the promotion to regional sales director came with perks, when my assistant buzzed me. "There's someone here to see you, Mr. Clark. Says it's personal." I wasn't expecting anyone. "Who is it?" "She says her name is Carla Morrison." My hand froze over the keyboard. I hadn't seen or heard from Carla since that conversation in my front yard 6 months ago. She'd been a ghost, a memory. "Tell her I'm busy." Pause. "She says it'll just take a minute. She looks... I don't know, sir. She looks like she needs to say something." I sighed. "Fine. Send her in." Carla walked through my office door, and I barely recognized her. She'd aged years. Her clothes were cheap, off-the-rack professional wear that didn't quite fit right. Her hair was flat, unstyled, dark circles under her eyes. She carried a worn purse that had seen better days. She was a shadow. "Thank you for seeing me," she said quietly, staying near the door. "You've got 2 minutes. I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm not here to apologize again or justify what I did." She took a breath. "I'm moving to Pennsylvania permanently. New job, new start. And before I go, I wanted you to know something." I waited. "You were right. About all of it." Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. Damien was using me. Meridian was protecting themselves. The lawsuit, that was my lawyer's idea. He convinced me you'd ruined my life out of spite, that I deserved compensation. I was so desperate, so angry at losing everything, that I went along with it. "Okay, I'm sorry for that, for trying to make you the villain when I destroyed us." She looked at me directly. I can't start over while lying to myself about what happened. Silence filled the office. Part of me wanted to gloat, to remind her of everything she'd lost. But looking at her now, broken, humbled, I just felt pity. "I hope Pennsylvania works out for you," I said. "I hope you find whatever you're looking for. I hope you're happy," she said. "With Janine. You deserve it." She left without waiting for a response. The door closed. I sat alone, processing. Then I opened my calendar and made a note. Dinner with Janine, 7 p.m. Pick up flowers. I grabbed my coat and headed out. Life was waiting, and I was done looking backward. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.